This conference will now be recorded.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any additions to the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Accounts payable, Joan?
Looked like a very normal month, not a lot of activity. There was the salt, 81292, was $12,973.99. Everything else was varied. Excel was $5,093. Very normal, nothing out of the norm. Does anyone have any questions on any of the accounts receivable or accounts payable? If not, I would make a motion to approve accounts payable in the amount of $63,978.54.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Public comments portion. Individuals may address the city council on any item of concern. Speakers must state their name, limit their remarks to 5 minutes. Any public comments? Any public comments? If not, we'll close the public comment section and,
Technology.
we'll proceed to the consent agenda.
Push that little button. Thanks, Mike.
Basically consists of the minutes of the February 20th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes.
Right, yep.
Passes
Sorry.
4-0. Then we proceed to number 7, unfinished business, the 5th Street West Avenue crosswalk study. Brian?
Yes. So we've been talking about this for a while, and I had our city engineer take a look at it. Maybe we'll have Bill kind of kick this off as to what's looked at, and when a question like this comes up, what warrants are looked at, and all that good stuff.
So for those of you that have been on the council for a while, and anytime we have speed issues or traffic signal issues or stop sign issues, there are rules that we're required to follow. So we are required to follow what's called the MUTCD. That's the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. And we're also required to follow the Federal Highway Administration guidelines on pedestrian safety. So we follow those 2 items. So anytime we have a request for a stop sign, what we do is we look at how do we meet warrants. Okay, warrants are for number of crashes, generally crashes, and number of cars per day that go through an intersection. Okay, so what you have in front of you here is a memo that just spells that out a little more. And then what I did is I did put some excerpts from those standards in here. And basically what we looked at first off is, to put a 2-way stop up as it is right now, that is an allowed use. So basically when you have a higher volume road and a lower volume road, it's automatic that you can put stop signs up on a 2-way stop on the lower volume road. For the 4-way then, it comes down to, as I mentioned, crashes, the number of vehicles entering or pedestrian and vehicles entering. And what we do typically from a cost savings perspective is we say, anecdotally, do we believe, are we close to meeting those volumes? Because if we are close, then we would typically move to the next phase, is we would have to do actual traffic counts, where we typically put, we hire, the city, we hire somebody to put cameras up and we physically measure the amount of traffic. but we are well short of that in this intersection, the amount of traffic. So what we do then is we say, okay, where do we fall on these guidelines? And where we fall on the guidelines is on the second page. And where I've highlighted in red there, this is a chart where you look at the number of cars, that's the top axis. AADT is average annual daily traffic, so how many cars per day, and then the number of lanes. So that's where I kind of got that red highlighted. Yeah, Brian, thank you, or who's ever running the, yep, so up in that top left. And then what you look at is what's an appropriate treatment. So that's signified by the little black little dots. So the appropriate treatment for our volume of roads is a high visibility crosswalk. And that's down the lower right, so that's the number one. And then it says, in addition to that, you can entertain the other items or possibilities more at your discretion. That's items 2, 4, 5, and 6. So that's a raised crosswalk, pedestrian crossing signs, curb extensions, and pedestrian refuge island. And then the other items are typically not recommended. So for example, a rectangular rapid flashing beacon out on the highway, on Main Street, that's the button that you push and you get the blinking lights. That's not recommended. And road diets, hybrid beacons, etc. So what the conclusion of this is that crosswalks would absolutely be recommended. And then the other items, such as pedestrian bump outs, would be basically to be considered. So the recommendation is to not put a 4-way stop in because you don't meet warrants. So that was ultimately what Brian and I had talked about, that we wanted to make sure, anytime we have an inquiry from the public, we want to make sure we explain. It's really important to explain why we do or don't do something. So with that, I'll pause, and if there's any questions, or Brian, anything?
Yeah, we have had police officers observing the intersection on various days after school. They've encountered not too many crossings. There are 5 at the most. It's usually 3 adults and a couple of kids on any one of those days. Now, that's not a all-encompassing study, but so far we've observed not many crossings on different weeks at different times, right, on different days in that after-school hour. And I said I would bring back some costs or projected costs for different options, more than just painting the crosswalk. We talked about RRFBs. That's about $30,000 and not recommended anyway. Solar crosswalk signs would be about $5,000. We have those up on 9th Street. Generally, I'm told by the engineering, they're less effective, or bump outs. That's about $10,000 per ped ramp, so per corner. So if you did both sides, it'd be 20 grand. So in talking with their engineer and police observing, the staff recommendation would be, hey, let's paint a crosswalk there. That's warranted, absolutely, there's crossing there. Let's paint a crosswalk, get a little bit more visibility, and start with that. We could look at just regular warning signs, crosswalk warning signs. A little difficult on the Quonset hut side, because there's not really a place for a sign over there. But that's something you could look at as well. But to start with, recommendation to the council would be let's direct Public Works to paint a crosswalk there when we can.
That really doesn't cost too much.
Just
the time and-
Just the paint and the time.
That's something you'd recommend, Pat?
Yes.
Yep.
I would say it's a good place to start. If things change, you can always review it again and see if there needs to be improvements from that point on.
Yeah, if I may, Mayor, the second most common thing to do would be to then put bump outs in. And the reason being is bump outs reduce the amount of time it takes someone to cross. It's also a clear delineation when cars come up that they see that and they inherently slow down. And study and research shows that, so.
You can just say paint and a sign in the middle.
Not in the middle, no. We're just saying paint right now.
You could have just the traditional signs, the traditional yellow crossing signs that you would have.
Then ones that,
It'd just be on the sides of the road, like where a stop, not like just any traditional sign, like a stop sign you see in the boulevard on the.
no, but I mean these,
You're talking about option 4, an in-street pedestrian crossing sign.
Bolted down or anything. I mean,
Yeah, sometimes you take those out in the winter or you put them in the summer, you know, and put them, that would be something that would be an optional one as well. Yes. I think I know which one you're talking about, Fred, but
they used to be on Main Street here.
Yeah,
And
we had some of those. I think the school has them now.
the fiberglass, I forget what they're called. Kevin may know the name.
Just a sign that goes on in the middle of the road. Yeah, they're narrow.
Put it right on the middle.
They almost always come off in the winter time because otherwise you break them off
Yep.
when you plow.
Yep.
I know what you're talking about, Fred.
Yep. What's your thought, Mike, on that? Both or one or Adam?
I guess I could see going with the center one. And just because I think if we plow, we could always just slide it off to the side and then put it back. The problems with the ones on Main Street was there was too many big trucks turning in.
Right.
I think that would work there, or at least it's an option to try it first before you put signs up.
I know we were talking to, I know Tony came over to me then and I asked him, or he said, well, he liked the idea of just paint and putting one of them signs in the middle. I mean, I think it helps make people coming aware till they get right there and see the white, you know. I mean, when I drive around, I see this yellow thing sticking out in the middle. I proceed with a little caution. I mean, I don't think they can be that much. I mean,
Are those signs that would come out in the middle there, ones that the city's got to put up and have access to?
Yeah, we just ordered.
Yeah, sorry if it's kind of long to see, but there's all sorts of varieties, you know, where they're just 4 screws, you screw in the middle of the road. There's all sorts of varieties of them.
screw them down.
There's ones with just weighted bases.
Just weighted bases. Yeah.
There's both. There's,
Yeah.
the weighted bases are the ones you can screw in, and then you take them out usually in the winter.
Well, I'd like to make a motion on this, right? Make a motion that we paint the crosswalk signs there and put a center portable caution sign in there.
For a second,
Yeah, I'll second that.
any more discussion? All those in favor?
Right?
Passes 4-0. Thank you. On to the next one. New business, ordinance 2025-02 recreational and specialty motor vehicles.
Yes, this has been something that the code committee has been working on for over a year. You know, we've got a lot of campers parked all over the place during the summer. Some campers that sit all year in various places. Some in yards, some in the road. And we've got also other recreational vehicles, specialty motor vehicles, that's where that falls in. You know, your side-by-sides, trailers, things like that. This would help to clean that up. This is modeled after several different communities and a whole lot of discussion. And then some tweaking from Morgan, from our new city attorney, to make it read very well, I think. And this is just a first reading, something that to get in front of you, to think about, and bring back questions. We'll discuss this some more at the work session next week. I think it's Thursday the 13th is our work session. So we can have more discussion there. But really, this is a first reading, and then asking to set up a public hearing at the March 20th meeting. You know, we'll publish this in the paper with the notice of the public hearing. So the public will be able to read it, see it, think about it, and come in and give us their thoughts on the 20th.
So that's our next meeting, the 20th?
Yep. Well, that's our next council meeting. We do have a work session on the 13th.
So we necessarily won't act on that in March 20th. I mean,
Yes, so we can have the public hearing and then act on it after.
That's usually what
it
we
doesn't
do.
give us a lot of time then to hash over what the people are.
Or you don't have to act on it. If there's a lot of comments and a lot of different
Right,
thoughts, you
that's
can
that's why I
direct.
was wondering, is it
Yeah.
set in stone that we have to act on it, and if we hear a
No.
bunch of comments and want to research more?
Yep, you can direct city staff to go back and tweak it, make changes based on comments. Yep, absolutely.
I think that's what we did on the lawn mowing one.
Yes. Oh, that's right, yeah. Kevin was on the code committee.
Listening to the community and making sure we get it right, so.
Or is that something you talk to it about at the work session or not?
Yes, yeah. We can have more discussion, and give you a little bit of time to chew on it from a council standpoint.
Right.
And then typically, then the council will ask a bunch of questions or whatever you want to talk about at the work session, and then we'll bring back, we can even tweak it a little bit before we bring it back to the public hearing.
After the work session or something?
After, you can't make any motions or any,
No.
but you can, we can make small changes and bring it back for the public hearing.
Yeah, I'd like
At
to
the
see.
20, on the 20th, and then once we have comments, if there's a lot of comments, a lot of good comments, things that we need to consider, then you just direct council to,
I'd like to see
I mean,
I'd like to see it on the work session too.
Yeah,
Just give
absolutely.
us more time to discuss it and.
yep, it'll be there. This is really setting up the public meeting and the first reading, getting it out there. We really don't, within our ordinance, we don't have a first reading requirement, but I like to do first readings for this reason. Let's get it out there.
So I'll make that motion for putting it on the agenda for the 20th as the ordinance 2025-02.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
8B, Resolution 2025-13, schedule a public hearing for modification of Municipal Development District Number 1, adoption of proposed tax increment financing for the proposed Bridgeview apartment building. Right.
Yes, so this is our TIF district for the Bridgeview apartment building. And I've got something here from Ehlers, just kind of the rundown. So in October of 2024, the city of Zumbrota, in partnership with Keller Bartman Properties, the developer received a deferred loan for $2,816,000 to assist with the development of 38 units of rental housing located on the site of the bank building at 700 3rd Street West. The project is market rate housing without any designated affordable units. Citing a financial gap in the project related to construction costs, interest rates, and modest market rents, the developer requested tax increment assistance and a waiver of SAC and WAC fees. The proposed tax increment financing district would be a redevelopment district with a maximum term of 26 years of assistance. Ehlers completed a financial analysis of the project, the tax increment but for analysis, and in a memo dated April 4th, 2024, concluded that assistance from the city is justified to make the project financially feasible. The proposed assistance included $1,751,591 in tax increment assistance and $62,700 in waived SAC and WAC fees. This assistance equates to $47,745 per unit. The developer anticipates starting construction this spring, and the tax increment district needs to be established prior to the developer receiving a building permit. This evening's action would set a public hearing for the establishment of TIF District 1 through 20 at 73rd Street on March 20th, 2025. After the public hearing, the council will consider approval of a resolution establishing the TIF district. So this is another one setting up a public hearing on March 20th, and the way it's worded in the memo is at approximately 6 o'clock. We'll just put them all that way because they start different. We used to do 6:05 and 6:15, but approximately 6 p.m. Is what we're asking for. Just basically set a public hearing for the TIF district.
Any questions, or you'll make a motion?
I don't know if we need a motion on that.
We do, yep, it's setting a
Yes.
public hearing.
Yep.
Okay, I make a motion that we set the public hearing for the new apartment complex.
everything that Brian just said.
Yes.
I'll second it.
So,
And this one we need to do a roll call for. Joan?
aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Fred? And I, passes 4-0. Then we have resolution 2025-14 for approving support for North Zumbro Sanitary Sewer District Regional Wastewater Facility.
Yes, we've done this each year for, is this the third or fourth year of doing this? So this is just something that we need to submit to our legislators, showing that the council is still in support of pursuing a sanitary district.
I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2025-14.
Roll call again as well. Joan?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Fred? And I, passes 4-0. Then we're down to 8D, new plow truck purchase. Mike?
So I got quotes in for the new plow truck. It's in the capital equipment plan. It was scheduled for last year, but we took the street sweeper last year, so we just swapped them. But it's there, and Adam did quite a bit of work on this to get the quotes. We had the first quote was a truck that we would have to put together, would be a 2026 single axle cab, Western Star. Total for that one was $132,790. And then the upfitting charge to add plow options was $162,000 for a total of $295,004. But then to get it equal to the other truck that we were looking at, which was a state truck that they turned down, to get a brine tank, and we were up to $324,800. And then increase from the state bid of 10%. So they also looked at a truck from Boyer, which is a 2022 Western Star, had all the same options that I just mentioned with that other truck. It's ready to go, fully equipped for $300,399. And I think that was adding a new camera or something.
Yeah,
Or an
when I
extra
talked
camera.
to the dealer, he'd said if it was a deal breaker, he'd be willing to throw the extra so it'll have one camera on it already, but we looked at putting a second camera on the back just so you can see better behind you when we're turning around and stuff. He said if it was a deal breaker, he'd throw the camera in, which it was I think it was like $400 plus the wiring harness and stuff, so.
That sounds like a deal breaker to me.
But he'd be willing to do that. I don't know if you want to talk some more, Mike.
Just a brine tank, we've never had run brine before, but I've always thought it was probably a good option to have. And then I think there's an option for us to run chloride for the gravel roads in town too. We can do that ourselves. Take a little bit of setting up and stuff to figure out, but I think that would be a good option to have with that truck.
Adam did a lot of work on this. He spoke with Kevin as well, the plow expert, the state plow expert. And Mike and Larry and the rest of the crew. They did a lot of work on researching this, and this is a brand new truck for a whole lot less than what you would normally pay for all these options that are on it.
Comes all checked out with the state rating for what they ordered the plow trucks as. And I had talked with Brian and a little bit with Public Works with the option of brine can become a pretty good cost saver with as well as the cleanup side of it. With currently we do a lot of sand out on the roads and you have to sweep all that up every spring. And with the brine, you have a lot less of that sanding that you have to sweep up. Makes it a lot less of a pain to deal with. You use a lot less chemical application directly, because when you're dealing with the hard rock salt or sand, it has to cook down through the top layers to break it off the road. And the brine actually, because it's a liquid, penetrates through and breaks the bond underneath, makes it a lot faster turnaround time to regain roads. So we'll have to look into options for acquiring brine. There's services that you can buy it pre-mixed, delivered. You just have to install a holding tank and easy to pull it off of that then. So there's different avenues to pursue in that.
So, and you're saying it's, Brian, a good way to go with that.
Oh, yeah.
So if we're getting this, I mean, is that something that we should look at for even next year, then set up with that, then if we're gonna have.
There'll be something to discuss with in the work sessions and
Okay.
work on developing options for that.
Yep.
Turn these guys loose since they did such a good job finding a plow.
Yep.
I think Chris has already kind of done a little bit of research on where to get brine, and I think the one place I think he found is like 30 cents a gallon and then delivery charge and whatnot. But obviously there's a little bit of an initial cost just with buying a tank and pump and stuff, but in the long run, it'll probably be a savings, whether it's for cleanup and we won't have to hopefully use as much salt or sand, so.
Well, I would anticipate that our salt would go down, our salt, what we order for salt now would go down.
How much brine do you have to have on hand? From year to year, but what would you have to have?
So this is state numbers, what I've got in my head, but we have storage capacity at the Zumbrota shop for 6,000 gallons. We used to only have 1,000 gallons because only a couple of the trucks ever used brine, but the state's made a massive effort to get away from the rock salt towards, they have a number of trucks that are just brine trucks. They don't even carry salt anymore. And so with that push, the usage of it has gone up, but again, the numbers of 30 cents per gallon for salt brine, my truck holds 1,000 gallons. I can get through, like this past event that was super heavy, I filled my truck once and used 1,000 gallons for all the mileage and multiple trips out and around. So, and that's a lot cheaper than throwing down load after load of salt out the back. That much of that, the traffic disperses into our boulevards onto the grass where it doesn't help the road, kills the grass. So the brine actually stays on the road too. And people's cars, but the salt does that too.
And then you looked at this is a 22 versus, so that this has been sitting around for 2 years or whatever.
So
the warranties and stuff all.
So Boyer is a long story, but Boyer ordered all these trucks, had them set up for the state. Took too long to upfit them, so the state backed out. So it's a 2022, but it has like 200 miles on it, and the warranty will start the day we get it, and it comes with a 5-year powertrain warranty basically. So motor, transmission, the diesel exhaust fluid, all that stuff is under that 5-year warranty. And then I think there's something with the wiring too. There's a extended warranty for that too. It'll come with, so we don't run wings in this right now in town. So it'll have a wing on it, which I think it'll be a big time saving and wear and tear on other equipment. We can clean our own intersections, and that way right now we have somebody that follows the plow truck around to clean intersections, where we've talked with other towns and they just make the corner and it puts it right up on the curb the best it can. Obviously you're not going to get it perfect, but I think in the long run it'll save a lot of time. And eventually, maybe if we look at maybe going down to 2 trucks instead of 3, just because of the cost that these trucks are getting to be. I don't think the city can afford to have $1 million worth of trucks sitting around. So I don't know, I think it's a good purchase at this price, considering it's fully loaded, it's the Cadillac, so. And the one that I had spec'd out for ourselves, like not the one we went and looked at that's already ready to go, we could pick it up tomorrow if we wanted to. The one I spec'd out, we wouldn't get it, that we could get the truck, but it wouldn't be upfitted it wouldn't be ready till September of 26 at the earliest. So then we're out a whole nother plowing season. And if we we haven't had a winter the last 2 winters. So I don't think that the one truck we have, if we get a winter, I don't think it'll make it through a winter. I mean, it's had a pretty easy life the last 2 winters, and we've still stuck money into it. I mean, the radiator went out, we had to fix some other stuff on it, so I think it's a good deal, but that's my take on it.
I'm going to make the motion to approve the new snowplow truck purchase.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Passes 4-0. Trestle Bridge short-term repair. Brian.
Yeah, let's start off with Bill on that one. And Bill, you want to start off talking about the Trestle Bridge?
Yes. So in your packet, there's a fairly longer than normal agenda item or background, but I think as everybody's aware, the Trestle Bridge was closed this past fall. It was closed because it failed an inspection. Goodhue County is the inspection authority, so technically they closed the bridge based on inspection. Several items were failing, the floor beams, stringers, decking, etc. So this is a project we've been looking at for many years, so we've actually applied for funding. I think probably going on 5 or 6 years for various things. We've looked at congressionally directed spending. We've looked from Congress. We've looked at DNR trail grants. We've looked at a variety of different things. And actually currently we are a finalist for a transportation alternatives grant. That's a federal grant administered through the DOT. Brian and I we actually went to an interview on Zoom, I think it was, back in December. We made it through the first round, and we actually presented a week and a half ago as finalists, the city of Zumbrota was, for funding. Roughly 60%-ish of the total cost. There's eligibility criteria. We will find that out next Friday. So, but those federal government grants are 4 years out. So meaning that's for 2029. So the question is, okay, what do we do for the next 4 years? Now if we would happen to get that grant, you can do something called advanced construct. We could move that forward maybe to 2027. But then there's, okay, what do we do for 2 years? So what we have looked at is what are the options to do a fix to get it to basically so we can open it up as soon as possible. So when we bid out, when the covered bridge was damaged from the heavy snows in 2019, we did go out to bid there, and we had Knutson Construction was the low bidder there. So I did reach out to Knutson Construction. Their project manager worked on the covered bridge. He lives here in Zumbrota. He is a member of the ski club. So we talked to him to just get an idea, is it possible, how they would approach it. The other thing that we have to do is we have to also see where we fall regarding statutory bidding requirements. So the statutory bid requirement is if we're $175,000 or more, we have to go through a different process. We are under that. So the statute says if your engineering estimate is under that, so our engineering estimate is under that, which means we can informally solicit written quotations. So what we are suggesting or having the discussion today is, do we go out for quotations? We have to get a minimum of 2. We bring those back to the next council meeting to say, here's what it would cost to repair it. We believe that's probably in the $125,000 to $150,000 range to repair the bridge. I'm calling a short-term fix. Short-term in my world is 5 to 10 years. So that would be long enough that ideally we will have received funding, and then we will be working on the full bridge replacement, while we have the bridge open for the next, say 2 to 5 years. That's kind of the quick and dirty version of that. So, But obviously, we could answer more questions or go into more detail.
Yeah, oh, thank you, Bill. And as a citizen, I'd like to see the bridge open. As an administrator, it's up to you guys if you wanted to spend the money, but we don't need to make that decision. We just want to be able to have those quotes in hand when we find out if we're going to get any funding, and then we can have more discussion then.
Yeah, because actually, there's no council action is needed, but if we're going to go out and get quotes, typically we'd want your consensus, because technically Brian can direct us to get quotes, but it's always good to have the council on board before we get quotes, because we get quotes and then we say, we don't want to do it, and the contractors aren't happy with us because they took the time to put them together. So that's what we're looking for, consensus from the council to get quotes and bring them back here at the next meeting.
And I know I was talking to you the other day and you said there was other options too with this grant money coming that we could, if we know we're going to get the grant and there's 2-year spread, you said there's other funds that we could use for that 2 years till we get to the grant instead of put.
So the mitigating factor here is if we were to get a grant, it's federal dollars. And there's a lot of things that need to be done. So it's a couple of years, year and a half or 2 years before you can really even pre-build it.
And the fastest we could do anything would be in 2027 if we received a grant. If we receive the grant, that's the quickest we could be able to build a bridge. So we have minimum of 2 years.
So you still have 2 years to think about, keep it closed for the 2 years. Again, we might not get the grant. So then there's it's still a decision of, do you do repair to get 5 to 10 years out of it? So either way, we need to have quotes in hand.
Yeah, I think we need prices so we can make some decisions as we want to keep it closed for 2-3 years, or we want to get it open as soon as we can, at least so we can make those and weigh those options.
Yeah, I agree.
And it sounds,
So who else do you have to get, you said that, what was that other company?
So we have to we're required by statute to get 2 quotes. So last time we solicited quotes from Knutson Construction and Kraus Anderson. Those are the 2 primary people that do this. But that's who we would most likely go back to. Knutson primarily because 3 of their project managers live in Zumbrota. So that's always a good choice. And Kraus Anderson's their #1 competitor, so it seems like a good choice as well.
So when they build bridges and all that stuff?
They do wooden bridge repair. So someone like a full-flown, like a bridge contractor, like a bigger one, but it takes a smaller contractor to want to do a repair because this is going to be all handwork here.
So who repaired it last time?
Knutson. I'm sorry, which bridge?
The trestle.
The trestle bridge was, I'm not sure. Icon repaired it last time.
Icon, and that's what they do?
Icon, correct, they're a bridge contractor, yes.
And repair.
Yes.
Just in my thought process is like, these guys are saying 125 to 150 for repair. But if we get somebody that builds bridges in there, it can't hurt to have them look at it. Maybe they have other options to where.
we should clarify though, that's the engineering estimate.
What's that?
That's the engineering estimate. It's 125 to 150.
Right.
We don't know what quotes will come back at.
So, but I'm just saying, if these guys repaired it before, they kind of know, maybe got some different ideas to where, they can repair it for a different amount for a longer time or forever. I just think the more people, and if they did it before.
Yeah, we are not limited. We can ask as many people as we want, so.
And maybe you're not aware, but Icon, when they repaired that trestle bridge the last time, when they tear down old bridges, they keep a lot of the parts. So what they put back into that bridge was, not that it makes any difference, it was original parts that they had saved, but it fit good with what they had there because they were, I can't remember what exactly they replaced there, but they kept a lot of parts down in their lot down there, so they were able to just bring that stuff up and repair it.
Yeah, I never want to speculate who's going to be low, but my guess is the people with the local people in town are probably going to be more aggressive, but we will know if the council's on board, we'll know in 2 weeks.
It sounds like we don't need a motion for that, just
Nope, we're basically just looking for agreement. Is everybody on board? I'm seeing some head nods.
For
Fred,
bids.
I haven't
Getting
seen
bids.
Fred's head nod yet, but
You know, being that they've got, I would like to see as many,
Especially if Icon has had experience with that bridge, I think that's well worth at least throw that out there.
perfect. That sounds good. So Brian and I, we're going to take this as consensus. We'll get quotes and we'll we'll solicit at least those 3 that we just mentioned.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Agenda is setting a work session. What dates? We're looking for this in April, is that correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, we could do another one in April, or we could do it in early May. You know, budgeting is gonna start end of April, early May. We do have things we could discuss in an April one, and then start the budgeting in May. So I just want to throw it out there, because we have one scheduled for March. Just, does the council want to have another one, or set another one? Mayor Hamel kind of wanted to do a month by month. So, yeah, if you want one in April, absolutely.
Looking at doing that on like an off
I
week
thought there was
again.
already one set for March.
This is March, we have March.
Oh, I thought you said April.
April or May.
I'm okay with doing April.
Doing it either the 2nd or the 4th week in April, so it's an off for the,
I prefer not the second week.
okay?
I'm out of town. But it's about the council, not me.
The 4th week of April, 21st or the 25th?
No. We have auditors and chambers.
Oh, yeah. So a different day, you know, if it's,
Oops.
Maybe the 16th of April, Wednesday?
there's an EDA meeting, but we could displace the EDA meeting if we had to. You know, maybe there's a Tuesday, the 22nd, there's no meetings in here.
Auditors and chambers.
Oh, you just said that. Don't listen very well, do it. Unless you want to do a Monday night. Not the first Monday night, though, because that's park board.
Yeah, and the 2nd and 3rd is fire, but that's not, where you go down to like the 29th, 29th, or the 30th, Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm gonna be out of town that one time too. But you don't, you know, we've got the new deputy city administrator here. He'll be fully up to speed then, so you could have a work session. And Miles can handle it. Right, Miles?
I hope so.
You will. So, yeah, I mean, if you wanted to,
On the 29th is what you're looking at there?
Tuesday.
Tuesday the 29th?
'Cause that one's wide open for me.
Is there anything, Kevin?
Tuesday the 29th.
29th?
Oh, April.
Yeah, there's no other meetings in here, so.
Tuesday the 29th.
Is that at the same 5:30 that we usually do them?
Okay.
Motion for that?
I'll make that motion if we need one.
All those in favor?
Right,
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0.
I believe that's it. Reports tonight? Brian?
Reports, yes, let me find it here. The sanitary district, we spent the day at the Capitol today for League of Minnesota Cities City Day on the Hill. It includes speakers from the league as well as House and Senate leaders. Governor Walz did speak for a few minutes as well. We had a committee hearing. Michael Bolton spoke, Representative Jacob and Blake Johnson from the Prairie Island community. They had 5 minutes. The presentation went well, so that was our first committee hearing. We also met with 3 representatives to talk about our bills. While we were sitting there, MMB, Minnesota Management Budget, released its updated budget projections. It shows about a $456 million surplus this year. However, the bonding capacity has been decreasing. It was about $980 million last year. And with today's projection, which includes a $6 billion deficit in the next biennium, 28 and 29, 2028, 2029. So anyway, even though there's $456 million surplus, a little lower than was expected, I think, which brings the available bonding dollars down closer to $700 million or so. So there's a lot of projects that were out there last year for bonding. They're looking at carrying those through as much as they can, but there's less dollars. So pretty competitive. We're in a we'll just include us mode now. Just, keep us moving. We'll take something if you can get us in the bill. So that's where we're at with that. For the pool, we received a $3,200 contribution from the Zumbrota American Legion from the pancake breakfast. It was a free will donation benefit, and a big thanks to the citizens who contributed, and then everybody from the American Legion and other volunteers who worked at the breakfast all morning. It was fun to talk to people. I spent quite a bit of time there, and yeah, $3,200 contribution from one little pancake breakfast. So big thanks to them. That's it.
That's it?
Yep.
Mike, do you have anything tonight?
Only if anybody has questions on the ordinance that for first reading tonight that are legal questions, forward those to Brian, and I'll reply prior to the work session or prior to the next council meeting where it's addressed, but nothing further. Thanks.
Thank you. Pat? Nothing. Anything more from you, Bill?
Nothing further. Thank you.
What else?
Nothing from me.
Jim?
Just wanted to remind you that now, as we discussed purchasing the new plow truck, in the budget process, you guys did approve the issuance of equipment certificates to help fund that purchase. We haven't done equipment certificates since I've been here, so Brian and I will be exploring the possibilities. Of course, we have funds on hand if we need to do a short-term, pay for it, but we will be bringing that forward to you when we understand and get the process going, so.
Adam? Mike? I have nothing tonight. John? Kevin?
Just an update on the Zumbrota area ambulance. We had the full board discussion this past month, and just a couple of highlights. The current cost right now is $17.50 per capita. We're looking for the proposed increase of that to go up to $20 for 2026, and could be another $3 raise the next time it bumps up instead of the $2.50 that it has been going up. Just the biggest issue is that 70% of clients are on Medicare, and for every $2,000 billed, there's only $300 recovered for that billing. And there's a 3 to 6 month delay on any bill that goes out. So from the time the submission of the bill goes out, you don't see any money returned from that for 3 months to up to 6 months, and it's only it's a fraction of what the cost is. So the costs have to be covered to keep the ambulance service alive, and everyone there is doing a fantastic job. That they're holding. The retention rate is excellent. The recruitment is good. So we want to keep that. We don't want to be losing our emergency service personnel. So that side of things. And then, one other thing. I don't have the exact details on this. Pasquale brought up the radios communication with the county having switched over to fully encrypted, that there's no more monitoring with the EMS services. They can't monitor traffic anymore. Are you able to speak to some of the technical side of that, Pat?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
But they would have to have encryptable radios.
Right.
So
And does Zimbrota Police, do we have that capability?
our radios are encrypted.
Ours are, okay. So we can hear the traffic of Goodhue County, or
We can hear everything.
Okay,
Not everyone
Just
can hear us.
true, yes, okay, thanks. So that's the current situation, is they don't have the radios that are able to listen to the other information. The cost for that is currently prohibitive to get into it. As a city, we were able to do that. I remember some of the discussions on that, so that's kind of my update. I don't know, Brian, if you had anything more on
Well, I
that.
was gonna say, is that true with fire too? You don't have encrypted radios,
No.
so you can't.
No.
So what happens is there's a communication gap there, basically, where they can't all hear each other anymore on what's going on as they're headed to a scene of some sort. So that's that. There is a couple of bills, EMS bills up at the legislature that they're looking at now, or some of those things. More funding, more permanent funding. They just did a one-time funding increase. What was it, $192,000? The ambulance got some money, or will get some money from that, but they want to try and make something more permanent. So anyway, there are some EMS bills. Everybody's aware of it up there as well. Radios and funding issues. So that's being talked about up there at the Capitol.
Oh, and the ambulance costs are going through the roof too. A brand new rig is estimated at $400,000 and 5 years out from date of purchase to reception. So they're currently looking at swapping, what do you call that, the box from one to a new chassis. So replacing the chassis but keeping and retaining the box. I guess the company that they've been purchasing trucks from, they do that as a service. They're really good at it. Back in the day, there were some problems with saving a box, new chassis, but those things have been ironed out over the past few years, decade, whatever. So it's a significant cost savings to retain the box and just replace the chassis. So that's the update from that.
Thank you. Just that thought on it.
Do we want to wait for him, or do we just adjourn the meeting?
Did he say he had anything on the way out?
He didn't say anything. Yeah. Guess we just adjourn the meeting.
Okay. Motion, need a motion in a second to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Aye.